Between these three guys, if they don't know the answer, it can't be done at a race. So, Ted, thanks a lot for coming down. He was on his way from New York to Chicago to Richmond to Savannah and decided to stop in. So we appreciate it.
How's everyone doing?
Great.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ted Metellus. I am a course operations guy for Competitor Group, the producers of the Rock and Roll Marathon series. As I've mentioned to Bob in passing, my technical name is Cone Slinger and Goo Packet Picker-Upper. So I'm quite proficient in both those things. I want to be sensitive to time, so I want it to be less about me and the things that I've done, but I've been in the industry for 19 years, done a lot of things, a lot of places with a lot of people. I was talking to a gentleman a little earlier and from Oklahoma, and he said something that pretty much ices what we do. I'm not doing this for money, I do it for the love. And I'm like, amen to that. I agree with you 1,000,000,000%. So same boat. I'm not gonna be a millionaire doing this, but I'm definitely gonna have a million amazing friends. So today we're gonna touch on the vast, magical world of course operations. I try to break it down into a couple of key places and key things, problems that we have in course design and planning, the solutions that are out there, and the experience overall. So to answer Pat's question of how many times is Ted gonna ask the group a question, it's going to be one. How many of you all here are either race producers, race directors, operations people, course people, the folks that actually make the magic happen? Show of hands. Excellent. So again, just to kind of get a gauge on who I'm talking to here, it's nitty-gritty stuff. So let's just dive right into this really quick. So I'm often asked the $1,000,000 question, what is it that you do? What's your goal? What's your mission when I go into a new city or a new market? And then I have this long explanation, design and execute a logistically and operationally sound route while showcasing the highlights of the market and venue with minimal community impact and cost. AKA bullshit. So I don't know how, I just try to make it happen. That's it, I make the magic happen one way or another. That photo is here in Philly. I ran the Philly half a couple years ago, and that was an epic shot that pretty much sums up the experience that you want to have for your participants. But yes, the goal is to design an amazing route, execute it well, don't mess anything up, don't piss anybody off, and don't spend $1,000,000 doing it. That's the object of the game. The problems. What are some of the challenges in course concept design? So this photo says it all best because the world doesn't move to the beat of just one drum. What might be right for you may not be right for some. That's Arnold. I'm very happy there's a lot of y'all that are not millennials and know who this person is. So there are different strokes for different folks. And there are lots of problems that come up. So just really quickly, rapid fire, some of the challenges that we encounter with trying to design a 5K, 10K, half marathon, ultra, 50-mile or 1-mile race. Let's throw them out there, and if I had candy, I'd throw it to you, but I don't. So yeah, just shoot it out. Some of the challenges. Church traffic. Parking. Permits. Police. What was the other one? Potties, yes. So that's some of the many, and the list can go on and on and on as far as impact to the community, the design of the route, traffic control, construction that happens in the city. So we're going to touch on a couple of the problems that we encounter with some solutions. So there's always going to be a way to figure it out. Some might be incredible and spectacular and make you happy as the producer. Some might be incredible and spectacular to make the city happy or the municipality happy. And the happy medium is to try to find a route that works for all parties while still presenting and executing an incredible route for your participants. So we're going to touch on some of the solutions here. I don't have all the answers, but I've been around enough times, and Lord knows I've messed up a couple of times, a lot of times, many times, all the time. And I figured out a way to not mess up again. We'll touch on the route. So, what route do we use? Where to go? How do we get there? That's always the $1,000,000 question. So always the start. Like, what are we going to design? What's the course that we're going to do? How is this going to look like? Kind of broke it down to some couple of things here that will hopefully kind of resonate with some of you all that have done this. Research. Definitely do your homework, do your planning, and figure out what it is that you're doing and where you're going to do it. What are the other events in the area doing? The chances of you producing an event in a market that doesn't have other events is slim to none. I went to a conference once, and they talked about producing an event someplace that there's never been an event produced before. And they talked about Alaska, been there, done that. They talked about South America, been there, done that. So they decided to produce an event on the moon. There's not been a race on the moon, so we designed a race on the moon, and the concept of it, and the design of it, and the experience of it, and so on and so forth. So my point is, you're not going to produce a race someplace that hasn't had a race happen there already. So do your research there. Design routes on the many apps that are out there and programs that are out there in the designing world. So, I mean, I asked a question online to some colleagues of ours in the industry, and there was a slew of different types of apps and programs and websites and mapping programs that are there. Take the time out, find one that you're proficient in and comfortable in, and go crazy in your designs. Go big, go nuts, be creative. Kind of, it's your blank slate or your whiteboard, and just draw to it and kind of scale back, but save all the designs that you have. That's one thing that a lot of folks don't do. They'll design something, oh, it doesn't work, delete it, and never have something as a reference point, and then they'll either redesign the same thing again and say, oh, wow, that looks really familiar. I was like, yeah, dude, that was what you did 2 days ago. So like artists or musicians will write a song or get a tune together and say, oh, that doesn't work, chuck it, and then end up doing the same thing again. Don't be that person. Save the stuff that you've done, because you can always use it as a reference point later on. Don't be a desk jockey. So again, with the new age of just the volume of technology that is available, what I am saying, yes, design the route and maps that you have online. Go out there and see the route. You know, touch it, run it, ride it, experience it, get your gauge on what the course looks like, because what may be online and on computer or on your desktop may not necessarily be there in the real world on the ground. So get out there and check that out. Don't be afraid to think outside the box. You know, be creative with some of the routes that you are designing, because you may be put in a box where you can be put in a box, I should say, where you can't go on certain roadways or routes or streets because of impact concerns. Well, but you are kind of pushed towards a particular route or course. Look at that differently, mix it up, see what you can do to make that experience great for your participants. Last but not least, which is a critical piece, which is the support and engagement from police, EMS, fire, city management, and community groups. Get those folks involved and engaged. Again, regardless if the event is small or big, you want to get those guys tied into what it is that you're doing. Communicate with them. Community impact. Churches, hospitals, businesses, I know some of those things that were brought up there, major roadways, construction plans, capital improvement. That is a huge issue, especially in, well, I shouldn't even say especially in, there are new markets that are always developing and changing and getting new roadways and new traffic plans and so on and so forth. And then there are older markets that need the work. So Atlanta, I remember producing events there 10 plus years ago where they went from a 2-lane road to a 4-lane road to a highway, because the city was just growing so quickly. So staying on top of what these plans are going to be are critical. So we'll run through some of the solutions to the problems here. Again, can't emphasize enough engagement and connection with PD, city management, traffic, Department of Transportation, parks people if you're doing races in parks and things like that. And again, the community groups. Don't lose sight of the community groups. Somebody said permits. Submit your permit ASAP. That's in many municipalities and cities, getting that permit in the system is critical, because then it pings as that date is locked in for this individual. And depending on the sophistication of that city and their programming system, that then goes from the city manager's office, special events office, to Department of Transportation, the streets department, so on and so forth. So that way they're not going to dig a hole on your course the weekend of your event. It's already been up there in their system. So definitely jump on getting the permit done. Create and distribute notification information. The notification piece I know is a ton of work. That's a lot, especially if you're dealing with a half marathon or marathon distance. That's a lot of homes. That's a lot of businesses. A lot of folks that are impacted by your event. Think about the volume of work that you're going to have to do to fix the problem versus addressing it from jump. Yes, it's a lot of work out there, but putting the notification information out there and the creative ways of doing that, whether it is through public access, getting on some local television station in town and letting them know what's going on, sending out email blasts. A lot of cities have information on buildings and properties and schools and things of that nature, and letting them know what's going on. You know, putting posters and information up inside of supermarkets and your local coffee shops and things of that nature. Whatever can get the word out, you want that there so people know what's going on, when it's happening, and how it's affecting them. The creation of traffic plans. Now that's a little bit more sophisticated depending on the market and city that you're in. But again, a lot of markets will say, listen, we'd love for you to use Main Street, but the problem is that's the major access point coming off of this highway, that road, so on and so forth. You're either SOL and can't execute the course, say it's a critical piece that joins your marathon and half marathon or something like that, or you look at ways to try to say, okay, can we create an access lane for runners to go through as well as vehicles? Can we put the equipment out there to ensure that? Because what you end up getting back will maybe an incredible route, an incredible experience, but also mitigating any of the issues that you may have with your city agencies, police, and so on and so forth. So look at traffic plans. There are traffic control companies out there that are specialized in creating MOT plans, mode of transportation plans, because that's what they do on a day-to-day when there's major construction going on a roadway and being able to get people through. Then tying into the community outreach piece, getting the maps out there, the schedules out there so people know what's going on, both from a community awareness piece, but also from a participant piece, and also from a city piece. They want to know what's going on and what's happening there. Lastly, recapping and staying engaged with your marketing in your city. Touching base with folks. I always say anywhere between 35 days to 40 days post the event, have a recap meeting with those guys. Connect with them, talk to them, talk about what worked, what didn't work, what needs to be improved. And then stay in touch with those folks every 3 to 6 months. Just always, hey, how's it going? How are things going? Are there any plans going in? Are there any construction concerns I need to be aware of? So on and so forth. How to execute the route. So that's always the next piece too. So after you've done your pre-pro, all your planning, so what are we gonna do race weekend? I know that Ryan and the team are gonna touch on a lot of the nitty-gritty on the execution operational end, but definitely trying to figure out what your route execution will look like. Goes into, again, all the stuff that we've talked about before. So really quickly on the solutions end, resources. While the first part was doing your research, now it's all about making sure that you have the resources in hand to execute your race well. And again, I know Ryan and the team are going to talk a little bit more about that. Approvals, certifications, staffing, equipment, insurance. Again, the meat of what makes your race work or what makes your event work. The people, the stuff. Make sure you have those checked in. Don't be afraid to get your hands dirty. That's critical, especially as a race lead and operations lead. Definitely go out there and see things. For many of the timers that are in the room that are involved in race production and race operations, I tell you the same thing. A lot of the really solid timers will email race directors and say, hey, can I get your certification map? Can I get a layout of what the course is going to look like? Can you tell me whether or not there's going to be any access lanes anywhere near the 5K split or the 10K split? Because I'm laying mats out, okay? Don't be afraid to get out there and see those things. They may not have the ability to go out there and tell you what the measurement or the width of the road is. Get that wheel out there and measure that width. Get that information on the pre-end, so prior to the event, so that way, come race day, your job and experience is a lot easier. So don't be afraid to get your hands dirty. Know your route, mark your route, get out there and see that, because you don't want to be that event that somebody gets lost at. Be transparent with your information. This is a big battle nowadays, especially with old school producers versus new school producers, where somebody will walk in with binders worth of information and be like, here's the information for everybody, and somebody comes in with a piece of paper in their pocket and go, all right, I'm going to run through the race plan. You're not being very transparent. God forbid you get hit by a bus. You had some bad oysters the night before and you can't be on site. Who knows what you know? So be transparent. I can't stress that enough. What you know, everybody else in the room should know. So if we were all producing an event, you guys would all know what I know. So that my job is a hell of a lot easier and you have all the answers to the questions. A mantra I live by, a safe event is a well-produced event, and a well-produced event is a safe event. That ties straight with police, EMS, fire. In the world that we live today, the better prepared you are going into race weekend, the easier the job's going to be on the part of PD and all the other agencies, and the quicker you'll get a ass back to the market, ass back to the city. So definitely want to execute and prepare a really safe and solid event. I went through this quickly, but are there any questions? Right now.
Are you finding in cities that they're giving you designated routes? You know, like Chicago Grant Park area, for example. You know, most races go there. They go up Columbus. Are are other cities doing that as well, that saying that these are the specific roads you can use, it's up to you to make your event unique on those roads?
Yes, that's the short answer. Yes, that's happening more and more, and that now, again, is, that is the nature of our industry solely based on volume. Look around you. Look how many people are in this room. How many people are producing events in this room. How many people are producing events in this room in the same cities that you live in. That's one of the reasons why the cities are getting inundated and overwhelmed, and they have to control it. So in lieu of saying, no new events, you can't have anything here, they'll sooner say, this is a designated location, you guys can execute your race. And it goes back to my earlier point of be creative and different and make your race yours. Yes?
What website or app do you like to use for mapping your course?
It's a good question. I actually use a European website. It's like Go Run something or other. I'll have some follow-up information for you. I apologize for not having it in my deck because I was crunching on time. Map My Run's a great app. I know a lot of people use that. Google is a great map app program now that's actually gotten a lot more sophisticated to the point that you can design a map on Google and put elements within it and share that, and it gives you a GPS element piece to it. So you can see yourself on the course with the blue dot, and you can ride your route that way too. So I use a different app that I end up digging up and finding when there was that weird thing going on with Map My Run a couple of years ago, if you guys may or may not remember, where it wasn't letting you go in and edit and couldn't change anything. So I got panicky and I went to this UK website, and it works fantastic. No worries. I'll get that answer for you though, it's on my desktop. Any other questions? All right, thank you very much. On to the next.